yeah, just more of my ramblings. I'm just going to talk about like PIP in general and like things that PIP can be used for. I mean, I say can be used for. I mean, it might be slightly different to like why it's awarded and stuff, but right. So I did that. I made those videos about my PIP review, right? And I just sort of said about the process and that, and like I'm getting my head around the government changes and stuff like that, and because I enjoy like politics and sociology and stuff like that. And I like to sort of look at the big picture and stuff, and and sort of, well, I don't know. I suppose it's a bit like if you've, I don't know. That's a bad example. Like if you cut yourself, you put a plaster on it, but if you burn yourself, you know, you put a bag on it, sort of thing. Like one size doesn't fit all, or like I think, you know, and I'm gonna call them able-bodied people, right? And I don't mean any offence by that. I just mean like people who don't, you know, come across, get involved with, engage with long-term health services, hospitals, you know, rehabilitation services, because it all fits together. When you've got a long-term condition, like many of us have, you know, it. Anyway, I don't know. I'll just start rambling. Oh yeah, and the shopping came, and the thing is, like, I got too excited this morning, and I did the shopping, and then I threw up. So if I start kipping, just ignore me. I probably shouldn't do this right now, but I'm waiting for. I've got social care coming at 3:00, so I'm just going to do this for a little while just to distract myself, and because like the pills haven't quite kicked in yet, so I don't want to read. I've had enough of reading for a little while. Thank you very much. So I'm just sitting outside in the garden, getting some air, and I probably should have got a little drink before I. So maybe I'll go and get a drink now while I'm rambling. Yeah. So, right, PEP. Okay. Yeah. So that guy on the comments, and he wrote like, "Get a job." Yeah. I think like that. First of all, yeah. When it comes to PIP, and it will make more sense when you start to look at the bigger context, right? Because if you have long-term health conditions at some point, you know, if you have periods of hospitalisation and then you're released from hospital, you know, then you overlap with the NHS into the social care system. And even if you don't qualify for social care, like on an ongoing regular basis because of your financial situation, like maybe you have a job, they, you know, when it comes to discharge from the NHS back into the community, they normally take over, or they have a legal obligation to take over for like a period of time to like for like rehabilitation and stuff. And speaking about rehabilitation, right? So like there's stuff available on the NHS, obviously, right? So for me, like, you know, or for anyone, I suppose, but based mostly on my experience. So I saw a neurologist, and then there were certain issues that were identified. So then he referred me on to neurophysiotherapy. So I was having like vestibular rehabilitation, and like, so that's available through the NHS for, you know, a number of months. Okay, and but then if you need support or help after that, then there's like this neurotherapy centre in Saltney, and although I think it's like subsidised through charity stuff, you got to pay for it, right? So you will get an amount of care on the NHS, which is fantastic, and God willing, hopefully that's enough. But if you have like a chronic, do you know what chronic means? Yeah, like long-term recurring, you know, something that happens and that's acute. If it's, you know, like, I don't know, if you were in a car accident and you broke your leg, that would be like acute. But if you've got a brain injury, and then that could lead to a chronic condition that would need long-term help. So the NHS will provide an amount for a period of time, and then after that you might need to access private services, or like maybe you need to go to a gym, or maybe you need to go somewhere more specialised like that neurotherapy centre. And also, like the neurotherapy centre where I am, it offers treatments that, like the NHS refers people there for treatments because it doesn't offer them in-house. But like again, like after a period of time, you've got to pay for it. So they have things like oxygen chambers, and they have like a gym with like specialised equipment, and people, physiotherapists, trained physiotherapists on site who supervise you, and so things to help people reambulate, is that a word? To get back on their feet again, to learn to start walking again, or you know, stuff like that, to build up certain, and do it safely, correctly. And so when you talk about, so that's like one thing that it can be. Oh, so then I've got visual impairment, right? So for me, you know, like signal cane, and then any kind of visual aids, and like visual aids are really expensive. Like, have you ever been into somewhere like Able World? Okay, so wheelchairs, electric wheelchairs, they did maintenance. You know, I mean, there's some stuff available on the NHS, but obviously it's some stuff, okay? Or they might give you like you might be able to get a grant from the local council or something, but there's still an amount, obviously, you know. So I think what people are missing when people talk about PIP, you know, it's not like it's not like a money grab. It's not like that, okay? It's about assessing your whole living situation, and it's usually related to okay, sometimes it's a mental health condition, okay, but I suppose it's easier to relate to with a physical health condition. But I don't know. I mean, if you think about people who, I don't know, maybe they have, I don't know, schizophrenia or epilepsy, or you know, like I don't know. I'm not that familiar with it, right? But they might need like someone, and I mean, so something like an advocate service, so someone who goes with you to hospital or doctor's appointments to speak for you, or to help you to understand or remember the information that you're provided with, and then help you to action and follow through on that. So some of those services are provided by charity-based, you know, but then some people might elect for someone else to have them, like to have a carer with them or something. Maybe they can't get access to a charity-based service because, you know, it's limited. And so like there's, and then, you know, like I know a few people who have like mobility issues, okay, and but they can still ride a tricycle. So, and you can get like electric, you know, or like dual tricycles and stuff. So, but then they're like £7,000, you know, or you can, you know, probably get a cheaper one for £1 or £2,000. and then but then like, so these people, they've kept working because they can get to their part-time jobs on a tricycle. Okay, so this is why the PIP, it's not income related and it's not means tested, and it's supposed to sort of go towards things that help you to continue in your daily life, to allow you to maybe continue working, or maybe take care of your kids, or you know, whether that's I mean, I just throw in take care of your kids, but like, what does that mean? Like, who's leaving? Look, okay, I shouldn't have said that. That was maybe not appropriate. But so I can only really sort of speak to my own knowledge. So I get like pre-prepared vegetables. You know, if I'm just going to do like rough roasted vegetables, I can just roughly sort of chop them myself with a reasonably dull knife. I've got a little blitzer chopper thing that I use for chopping, you know, like garlic or onion or ginger, or, and then because like for a lot of people, diet is important. We don't want people to have more health conditions through cholesterol, you know, heart issues, blood pressure. So, you know, but then maybe they can't prepare a whole like proper meal like that. You can't live on takeaways, and you can't live on ready meals, you know. So maybe a Meals on Wheels service, or you know, so there's. I'm just saying, what I'm trying to sort of explain here is, yeah. So PIP is like directly related to your ability to function in your everyday life. So like buses, for example. Okay, I've got vestibular issues. I've got visual impairment. Okay, if I'm getting a bus from outside my home to the bus station, I can do that. If I'm getting the bus from the bus station to my home, well, the bus service used to have this online thing, so I could track the bus that I was on, so I knew when to get off. But otherwise, fair enough, right? You just ask the bus driver, can you let me know when I'm there or whatever. Like, if it's end to end, I can do that, but if it's, and then the other thing is, you know, make sure you get on the right bus. Well, that's obvious. You know, my signal cane. I'm not saying that wasn't like a lot of money. The visual aids are very expensive. Like my other friend that works, she still works part-time, and she has visual aids for her computer. They get very expensive. I can't use a computer anymore because it's too much visual input for me. I use the tablet like limited, and I've got to have dark screen and too much information, and then it's like motion sickness and I throw up, you know. Even just talking now makes me want to throw up, but you know, I'm not trying to talk about my issues. Yeah. So, and like, you know, I know someone else, and like her son suffered a stroke when he was born because she had high blood pressure, right? So he's got a weakness on his left side. So they got a piano so that he could play piano, and that helped him to use his hands, and both hands, you know, try and even out, you know, and then also they got him a trike so that he could join in with his brothers, you know. He couldn't ride a bicycle because of his balance and that, and with the weakness, but a trike, it keeps people steady. So like, there's a whole world out there and then again, like, I don't know everything, right? Okay, I can only sort of speak to things that I'm aware of or things that affect me directly, and it's sort of, and like, so I know, well, and then you say, oh, it's the money. It's not really. about the money. I mean, a lot of these things, like, they are expensive, you know. But it's also about, like I said before, like if you want a blue badge, you know, for disabled parking and stuff, or, you know, because you can get a discount on your council tax or something, and like, don't wet your knickers over that or lose your mind, because like I used to pay like £100 and something a month in council tax, and the discount was like £1.52. Like, but you know, it's, so how do you prove? Well, it's, are you in receipt of PIP? You know, and then it's like, which part of PIP do you get? And you know, so it's like that. I mean, I said it's like your VIP gold card or whatever. Like, it's still got, you know, do you get the daily living component? Do you get the mobility payment? Do you get the lower amount or the enhanced amount? You know, on this one, that one, both of them. It just, and then instead of having multiple government departments doing multiple assessments on the same people, you know, it's one assessment every couple of years, and then that just gets shared between all of them. So that's kind of, so like I said, like, it's not even really about the money. It's like, if this is now your life, your situation, it's like one of the first questions that anybody ever asks you is, are you in receipt of PIP? And they use that as like it's like a gateway access. And like, I'm quite new to all of this, right? If I came back to the UK in 2017 and I started getting benefits in like 2018, I didn't get PIP until 2023. Obviously there was a global pandemic in the middle of, you know, like 2020 to that didn't, because my medical records weren't up to date, right? So I had to go through all these referrals and get all my medical records up to date. So that took, and then like I say, with COVID in there, that took a long time. And then after COVID, you know, I stopped going to my hospital appointments, you know. But then when I got the PIP, now, yeah, forgive me, I get taxis, okay? But then I make my hospital appointments, you know. Or what would you prefer, that I miss my hospital appointments, or I don't attend my hospital appointments, or you know, you got to kind of look at the bigger picture, and so I think to give people who are affected by long-term disability, to give them an extra amount of money each month based on their circumstances, to ensure they have the finances, but also, you know, this, you know, like access, in a way, access to certain things. It just, but then you see, you won't know any of this, because God willing, you've never had to deal with any of this, and God willing, you never will, you know. But yeah, it's just but I do thank you for your comment, because it has given me some content ideas. And then also, like I said, like, I've got another thing I have in mind is like to sort of think about, because like obviously YouTube, like, okay, alternative ways of generating an income, because, you know, we might have difficulty with mobility and getting out to a job, or maybe by the time you get to a job, that's all your energy gone. Like, how can you then do the job? So work from home. But then, I mean, possibly a call center job, I might be able to make phone calls, but I couldn't necessarily, I'd have to only, because, you know, the gipping, the tremors, you know, and whatever, you know, depending. Anyway, I'm not saying that there isn't work that I could do. Potentially there's work that I could do at some point in the future. But it's not going to be a job, as you would know a job, okay? And it's not going to be a job like I used to do, you know? I know somebody who does books. She's written a few books and had them published. I think they're available on Amazon. You know, someone else, you know, they grow plants. They like gardening. They grow plants. You can sell plants. I'm not saying none of this is going to make us millionaires. But, you know, everybody likes something to keep them occupied and feel productive and useful. I mean, I also try to take care of my brother and my mother, and that actually takes up a vast amount of my time, a ridiculous amount of my time. And I'm looking at the moment for ways to support them better, because I've got to make plans for when I'm not available, basically, you know, if at some point, you know. So, it's just, yeah, so I used my PIP for care, to come in and help me with things. A PA for paperwork, visual aids, a signal cane. I was trying to save up a little bit. I'm thinking about getting a trike, but I don't know, like I'd have to go really slow, do you know what I mean? Maybe a mobility scooter, but my vision, I don't know. So that's it. I mean, there's, you know, sometimes it's, you know, for people who are still working, like I said, like if you're still working, you know, like back in the day when I was still doing part-time work, taxis to and from work would have kept me in work, because I couldn't drive anymore. Visual input, it wasn't safe. Blind spots, vestibular stuff, spatial awareness. And then what was the other thing? And then you get home, the days that you work, you get home in the evening, maybe you do just want to take away because you still need to eat. Just, it's things like that. Or maybe you pay for a cleaner to come and clean the home because you haven't got the energy to do it because maybe you're still working. So PIP, you know, take this whole, when you're talking to people who are talking about PIP, don't make these assumptions that, because it's not all about the money, and they may be working, and it might be that extra little bit of money that they get from the PIP that allows them to keep working. Do you know what I mean? You've got to look at the bigger picture here. Also, the important thing is you've got to stop people from getting comorbidities, developing, you know, like if people are in wheelchairs and they're, you know, you want them to try and ambulate as much as possible, because being sedentary for that long can cause further complications, more health issues, more strain on the NHS. And then the other thing as well is, you know, there are certain things that that the government or the local council are obliged to provide. So if people can provide for themselves, it reduces the drain on that service. So just think about the bigger picture, and okay, it's easy to jump to conclusions about, I don't know, job seekers or universal credit or, you know, whatever. But PIP, very different. Oh, I made a mistake in the last video as well. I said my dad was on disability living allowance. He wasn't. He was on attendance allowance. But, you know, and don't assume that because people get PIP, because like I said, it's you get the social care aspect, you've got the universal credit aspect. They're means tested. So it might be the only benefit that someone's getting is PIP. But then the most important benefit to get is PIP. Because like I said, that's your kind of, that's the one that the government departments talking. That's the one that they refer to. That's kind of the way that the system has been set up, you know. So there's a park, not a park and ride. There's a service here in Chester called the Plus Bus, and it has, so you can, it's got facilities for wheelchairs and stuff. It'll come around and pick people up, but it can also take like 2 or 3 wheelchairs. But you've got to pre-book it, and it's like £5 per ride. And how do you get access for that? Oh, you have to demonstrate you're disabled. How do you do that? You show you're on PIP. So instead of getting taxis to places, I could go on the Plus Bus. Do you see what I'm saying? I mean, it actually turns out that it's not that much difference in cost for me. So I leave the Plus Bus for like wheelchair bound people, because wheelchair taxis, they're a bit more expensive, you know. But so you got to weigh the whole thing up, you know, the availability of services, how people access those services, right? How do you do that? Well, you need to prove you're disabled, or you've got some. How do you do that? Oh, are you on PIP? So that's the point, that it's not just about the money. It really isn't just about the money. And then when you think about the money, don't think that they're sitting there, as my landlord says, like a pig in shit. They're not sitting there like a pig in shit, mate. Do you know what I mean? Those physiotherapy services on the NHS and stuff, not available forever. Not everything is available on the NHS, okay? So, yeah, oxygen chambers, or, these keep fit classes for people with disabilities, or, the neurophysiotherapy centre at Saltney is very good, actually. And we're near Liverpool. The Walton Centre is here, which I believe is the premier neurological hospital in the country. So that's the reason why I don't particularly want to move away from this catchment area. So, I'm making this content in response to a specific comment that was made by one person, but no, I think it's fair. I mean, it is fair, because I think you hear disabled people or whatever, and they're talking about PIP, but it, like the example that I gave, like for my dad, right? You want a 78-year-old woman taking care of a wheelchair-bound 80-year-old man? They'll probably both end up in hospital, and then it's going on to the NHS again, and then it'll come back onto social services and district nurses. So you've got to look at the bigger picture and what you're trying to achieve here, and that's to keep people fit, healthy, active members of society, potentially, working, but ideally out of hospital with fewer conditions, and able to be independent, and maybe tapping into as many available but non-HS based services as possible, to keep that available for like people with acute rehab needs. I don't know if that makes any sense to you, but like, I get it on the face of it. You're like, I'll get a job, and that in itself is because, I mean, I'd like to know the statistics of how many people on PIP actually do still have jobs, or do still generate an income somehow, Like, it's just a really ignorant, naive kind of statement to make, and it suggests that you're making a lot of assumptions about people, which is really not. It says something about how you view people with disabilities, I think. And so maybe, because the majority of people that I interact with, you know, they still work, or at least, I mean, like myself, I mean, I only stopped working in 2017. I worked for a good 10 years after I was diagnosed. Yeah. So just, yeah, just trying to dispel the myths. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, and like some people still drive, yeah, so then maybe they've got like mobility vehicles. They need to make adjustments to their vehicles to, you know, like one of these little, like a joystick thing on the steering wheel, so that they can, you know, or maybe something to assist them with changing gear, or but again, like, it keeps people independent, mobile, active, keeps them, yeah, don't take away people's sense of self-worth, self-esteem, everything that they've achieved, you know. It really minimises, it's just not it's not a good look, mate. And I really hope that you never find yourself on the receiving end of it, or anyone close to you. I hope they never find themselves on the receiving end of it, because, yeah, you know, it's but anyway, you know, so those are just my thoughts, really. Just main thing is, don't make assumptions about people. And I'm not saying go educate yourself on it. But I mean, like, if you want to, you know, it's just like I said, you know. I mean, to me, it's close to racism and bigotry and stuff like that. It's like, you know, I just think it says more about the other person. But yeah, I mean, I can, especially with all the furore at the moment about with the Labour changes to, and like I said in one of my other videos, like, I agree with it. I don't mind them making it harder. It shouldn't be easy.